Hey everybody, welcome to Love and Reload, the voice of the relocation industry. I am your host, Ben Cross, and I am so blessed and honored to be here with Lynne Florence, HR business partner for the Chief Technology Office at Hewlett Packard Enterprise, aka the HRBP at the CTO for HPE. How are you doing today, Lynne?
I am doing great, Ben. Thank you so much for having me on the show, and thank you for all the acronyms, making that
Yeah,
call out.
we're not even going to need real world words in the future. I think that's my premise here is I think we're just going to go into the metaverse with just letters and just codes and ones and
Whole new,
zeros and everything.
whole new language.
Yeah, who needs words? Hey, if you're out there right now, get in the comments with your words or your acronyms or your CRPs and your GMSs, whatever you got in there. I want to know where in the world you are. Shout out your company. Want to know what's going on out there. We've got Mena. Look at Mena. Mena, front of the line from Egypt. Egypt is in the house, off top from the Middle East, Africa. This is great. What's up, Mena? Good to see you. Where in the world are you right now, Lynne Florence?
Right now, Ben, I am in Houston, Texas.
H-Town. All right. There
H-Town.
we
Yep.
go. So I'm in Dallas. So what I like to do with my friends from Houston, because we get quite a few of them on the show. Actually, we get more people from Houston on the show than we get from Dallas. I'm going to ask you right now. I'm going to put you on the hot seat right now. Houston or Dallas or somewhere else, which is the best city in Texas?
100% Houston.
Woo, man, this is great. All
No
right,
doubt.
why? I'm gonna test this theory. Why is that, Lynn?
Houston is the most diverse city in the United States of America. It has everything you could
Oh,
possibly want.
true.
It has
Okay.
amazing food.
Food's
It has
great.
amazing culture, has amazing music, has amazing theater, amazing museums. Do you want me to go on, Ben?
I mean, we do have time, but I think you've made your point. I can argue some of those, but I can't argue. I want to own the food thing. I think Dallas is a tremendously underrated food city. But I tell you what, I go to Houston, and my mark of a good food city, Lynn. By the way, if you care to know, which you haven't asked, my mark of a good food city is have I tried something there that was outstanding, which I had never had before. And I go to Houston, and I actually have things I've never had before. I'm a big fan of Mexican Tex-Mex cuisine, and that's a great one. Some phenomenal barbecue down there as well. So, I give you the food thing, and food, in my opinion, is I mean Maslow's hierarchy of needs. That's a pretty important one. Let's see, we got other people checking in right now. Let me know what city you're in and why it's the best in the world. We got Jana from checking in from Buzios, which is a beach city in Brazil. What's up, Jana? Jana was in Dallas a couple weeks ago. Dan from T Town, that's my dad. Dan Cross checking in. You know what? That's great. If you don't have viewers, you got family. Henri from France. Look at this. We've got Egypt, Brazil, France, Tulsa. That's a lot of countries. Hello from Dallas. We got Cindy Spoon in the house. What's up, Cindy? Is Dallas better than Houston, Cindy? Let me know why. Dano, I see you guys. Atlanta. What's up, Dano? Good to see you. ATL's in the house. Brian Smith. Hey, Brian. Shout out to you, Brian Smith. Brian actually put on my calendar for right now, 3 o'clock Central. I'm supposed to be having drinks with Brian right now. And I instead am here with you all talking to Lynne Florence right now. Shout out to Brian and the good people up there in Milwaukee at the Midwest Relocation Conference. After Lynne and I get done talking about HR business partnering and mobility and talent, I will be getting on a plane. I'm leaving Lynn here in Texas. Singapore is in the house. There's a city for you. Shout out to Kerwin Guillermo. Not such a
Hi,
bad guy,
Kerwin.
huh? Lynn, what do you think? You like
Yeah, he's a
Kerwin?
pretty good guy. Yeah,
Yeah?
yeah.
Yeah.
One of the
Kerwin actually
best.
introduced us. Kerwin's one of the best. He is. Kerwin's in my hall of honor. Stacy Huff. Shout out to Super Brewster Stacy in the Berg. Pittsburgh's in the house. H-Town all the way. Brian, that's great. Thanks, Brian. Way to pile on. Lisa Ross from San Diego. Now that's a city. Brad Hamlin's in the house. Hit that like button right now. I want to know. T-Town here, not as cool as Austin. That's an honorable mention. Detroit versus everywhere else when it comes to food. Brad, don't start. Brad, Detroit's got not very good food. You go to Detroit. Lynn, you ever been to Detroit?
I don't believe I've been to Detroit now.
You and everyone else, okay? You go to Detroit and you say, hey, what should I have here? They take you to the Coney shop and give you a cheap hot dog and say, here's what we're known for. Brad, I love you so much. Y'all got some decent fried chicken, but come on now. Henri, Tulsa's a country on its own. Really, Dallas is better because you're in Dallas. Well, that's true. If I got to, yeah, I mean, yeah. Mike Falia checking in from Tustin, California. Rainy, Massachusetts. Sean checking in. That's awesome, y'all. Get in the comments. I want to hear your questions. We're going to be talking about HR business partnering. We're going to be talking about how to move, Lynn moved from mobility into HR business partner. We're going to talk about the impact of mobility on talent programs. First, I got to ask Lynn, this may seem like a dumb question, but if you know anything about LOVE+RELO, you know it's a place for dumb questions. What is the difference between an HR business partner and HR per se?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think it's different dependent on the company you're in, right? Right, Ben. I think that sometimes we have these names for different things, and they end up all being kind of similar or have crossovers. HPE, where I'm at, an HR business partner, we really are the working directly with the business leaders on a lot of their HR strategy, a lot of like developing and rolling out HR programs within their group. So, working kind of more on a strategic level to make sure that we've got all of our talent in the right place, that our people leaders are supported from a human resources perspective. And then we kind of, I would say, are a liaison as well to the other groups within HR that do very wonderful work, like in our talent COEs or our mobility groups, or there's many different our benefits teams. So I would say that we're working directly with the business and partnering with them to make sure that their talent needs are seen to, that all of the great HR programs that we have across of our company are rolled out successfully in their organization. So we really work kind of hand in hand, right hand people to the business leaders.
So, kind of, if I can paraphrase just a little bit, maybe representing the business to HR and kind of, I like the word liaise, I think you might have used, and kind of that go between to make sure that the needs of the business are being supported and understood
Yeah.
by the HR partner or the HR support team. Is that
Yeah, I
fair?
would say definitely, and kind of trying to help all of the different groups navigate and really understand the true business needs, right? Because we all get so focused on our areas of expertise and work, and we're the experts, but sometimes, that's only as good as if it's actually solving the problem or working towards the end goal of what the business needs at the end of the day. So that's a really good call out. So as much as we partner with the business, we also partner with our other groups to share that information across the board and make sure that we're all kind of got our eye on the same prize at the end of the day, and everyone understands the direction that we need to go in from an HR perspective.
Yeah, I love it. And you mentioned talent and partnering with talent. And I know our global mobility community out there watching this right now, they're always talking about how to be better partners with talent, how to get a seat at the talent table, how to go upstream, and be a part of developing the requirements from a talent perspective. And instead of being more kind of reactionary, being more proactive, right? And working with talent as a partner. And I want to talk about talent and the way that mobility partners with talent, but first, I want to ask you what's going on with talent, especially in the technology space. It seems like there has been a dearth of talent in the tech space for a long time. And it seems like it's really become just really exacerbated
Yeah.
lately. Can you give me kind of a state of the space right now for
Sure,
talent in
sure.
tech?
Yeah, and you're right. I think we've always had this challenge of finding, this top technical talent in the technology industry, and it's not something that's new, right? It's been going on, like you said. It feels like we are always having this conversation, and I think that really, some of the struggles that we have is this exponential um, advance of technology and this blowing up of technology everywhere, and continue and continue and continue, and someone has to do all of that work to harness all of that technology that we have. And I think that what we're seeing now is that um, well, there's just not enough talent, right? There's not enough people out there to fill all those jobs that we need. I think some of the other things that probably a lot of us are seeing now is, yeah, we're a tech company, right? So we need technical talent and we need this tech talent, but it's not just tech companies now that need that type of talent, right? Everyone has it. When you
Yes.
pretty much in order to be competitive these days, you have to have that sort of skill sets within your organization. So I think, maybe to begin with, it was, you're competing against, your normal competitors that are in the same industry. But now you're really kind of competing across the board, right? That technical talent is required in every type of, well, pretty much every type of organization now. So I think
Yeah,
that that's
every
really
company
made it a lot scarce.
I've heard people say every company is a tech company now, and if you're not a tech company and you don't have a mobile first strategy and all these other things, don't even go work there because they're not going to be around in 10 years,
Right.
so what you're saying makes a lot of sense to me. I find it really interesting and kind of counterintuitive, that technology is here to make our lives easier. Technology is here to streamline things and make us more productive. And yet the labor requirement to fuel and support the technological advancement is incredibly large, right? And it's funny because when technological advancements come, people, oh my gosh, my job, I'm gonna lose my job,
Yeah.
right? Am I gonna be is a machine gonna replace me, right? And throughout history, we've always seen no, I mean, yes, maybe that job, but there will be new jobs created, and you just
Hmm.
have to reskill and do those things now, right? And so
Hmm.
the cotton gin, right? And it's it's helping people harvest cotton. So now you're not in the field, now you're in the plant, you're in the
Yeah.
factory making the wool instead of picking the cotton, right? And
Mm.
so I think it's interesting. And I guess my question is, do you see an opportunity to take folks who I okay, let me rephrase. I know there's an opportunity, but how do we take people who may be displaced by the technological advancements and skill them in such a way that they can be relevant talents to support the growing need?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And you make such a good point, because I think that even companies, I mean, companies right now are doing that, right? Upskilling people and changing skill sets, because technologies even within a company that it's a tech company are becoming redundant. So products
Mm,
and services that a company has produced and has made are all of a sudden becoming less relevant in the market, and there's a new thing coming along, right? So within the within a lot of organizations, you see a lot of upskilling happening. So you see a lot of like, okay, we know that we're going to select, we're going to start moving towards this new North Star, right? So this new, like we have one as well, like our cloud platform is our big thing right now. So we know that we're making that strategic move towards that. So some of our other products and services, not to say they're going away, but they may become less relevant. So how do we, and this brings up a really good point of something that I was going to talk about from a mobility perspective. How do we reskill? How do we upskill? How do we develop the talent that we have in house that we, really want to keep and really want to retain? How do we redevelop them so that they can be the talent pipeline into this next kind of new generation of technology or whatever it may be? And I think
yes.
that
I am
I,
sorry. Yes, like you get me excited. Like, yes, I love this conversation. I love where this is going. I'm gonna cut. I'm gonna just pop in real quick just to remind everybody: hit that like button. I want to hear your thoughts about this. I want to hear your thoughts about how mobility can be used as a talent tool. Right. I want to hear what you've seen out there. If you're watching this round, hit that like button right now. We got people checking in. We've got more countries represented right now. Ray Abbott from Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada's in the house. How many countries is that? I mean, yes, Henri, Tulsa is almost like a country. We're not going to count it as such for this intensive purposes of this discussion, Henri, but we can debate that on another show. But how many countries do we have represented? Johnny, can I get a check? Somebody give me a check. Stacy, give me a check. Charles Bay checking in from Dallas. Hey, Charles, remember that Chinese place we went to? I took my team there again. Phenomenal. We had the duck. It was great. Um, anyway, sorry, Richardson's got some phenomenal. You say you got the food thing. I don't know. We'll debate that. But let's get into mobility, because that's I think what a lot of folks want to hear about. How does global mobility partner with talent, become a tool in the toolkit?
So many ways, right? I think there's just such an amazing opportunity for mobility right now. Before I moved into this HRBP role, as mentioned, I was working with Kerwin, who, Ben, is hugely innovative and strategic on the
Kerwin,
side of
shout out.
mobility and talent. Shout out, Kerwin.
Yes, yes.
Um,
Every week we have to do a Kerwin Guillermo shout out here on Love and Reload. It's in our contract.
Good,
Just kidding. No,
good.
we
Well,
love
there you go. You
Kerwin
can
though.
check that box. And a lot of the what we were talking about before I moved in is, how do we get this integration? How do we share and educate and have HR, the business, everyone understand how much of a talent lever mobility can be. I mean, talk about, we're talking about how difficult it is to find talent. Well, yeah, it's difficult when you're looking in a pool like this big. What if mobility could open it up and make it this big? And then, are you expanding your talent pool? You're allowing for more opportunity to source that type of technical talent. Are you looking at development programs? We just talked about upskilling. Is it gig work? Can they go learn a new skill in a different country for 3 months? Where's mobility there to help us understand where's the best kind of combinations that we can do that at a most effective from the cost person? There's just so much that I think mobility could do, and I think some of the hardest part, right, is I think you mentioned it earlier, Ben, is getting that connection and getting that kind of opening up the Pandora's box to say, like, hey, look at all these things that we could help you with. And that was one of the things moving into an HR role that I feel so passionately about. So I'm going to just do it myself because I'm in HR now, right? So that, like, you see where I was going with this career
Yes.
move. But that's a lot of what we're doing, and just basically, I think mobility has just such a great opportunity to honestly make that difference, whether it be the talent pools, broadening that, whether it be offering programs that are so attractive that, early grads are wanting to come in because they might want an opportunity to do a gig in Germany or whatever it may be, you know. I think that's really important for talent and mobility to have those conversations in a strategic perspective on you know, mobility supporting the talent needs of the company because they're ripe to do so.
Yeah, and you bring up an excellent point, and we see people getting in the chat here. Shout out to Kerwin. We're gonna get to Kerwin's comment here in a second. Um, does the mobility strategy change based on like the level of the talent of the employee? Like for instance, do you have like a different strategy for entry level new recruits than you have for say a middle or senior level person? Do you see it like that, or do you see it varying by geography, or what really kind of indicates to you the different strategy that you should use with mobility?
I think for me, again, I think it depends on the kind of demographics of your organization and your type of organization. But I think that early grad and, like, new folks in their career is definitely a segment that we would maybe parse out a little bit because um, they're a talent pipeline. So I think that you go in a little bit differently with them than you do, like, maybe with your current or your experienced hires, just because you want to have that competitive edge, and it's really hard to have the competitive edge now because everyone is doing kind of similar things. So, you know, we were talking to our university team just a few weeks ago, and we were saying, imagine you're a new grad, like you're just out of college, and you've got two offers on the table, and one of them is a great, they're both great offers, but one of them you might get to do a 3 month rotation in Germany. I keep on saying Germany. I don't know. Apparently, I want to go to Germany.
Yeah,
A three
apparently
month
Lynn's going to
rotation.
Germany, everybody.
I'm going
That's
to
what's
Germany.
happening.
And so, a 3 month rotation in Germany, like, which one are they going to pick? Like, which one's more exciting to them? Which one will draw them in? And so that's one probably population that I would call out. I think after that, it becomes not necessarily about where they are, maybe in their career as it comes to like different types of development program. So for us at HPE, we have a very distinct kind of technical population that's like technical, we've got professional, and so there's different tracks, management, leadership. So I think perhaps it wouldn't be maybe necessarily at, like, how long they've been with the companies per se, but maybe like what their career path at the company looks like and when does mobility make sense within that path.
Sure, that
um,
makes sense. That makes
mhm.
sense. Kerwin's got a great little call out here. The race will be won by mobility programs that are able to pivot to attract, retain, and develop. Powerful statement.
Yeah, 100%. And it's so true because I think that what we're seeing now, and I even see it now moving into to this new role in HR, is that talent is everyone's number one job where I am. So like, and I'm talking number one job. So when you think about when you really think about that statement, that's very, impactful. And that shows like how important it is to the business at the moment. So if talent is the business's number one priority, talent needs to be everyone's business number one priority, right? Including
Sure.
mobility. So I think that what Kerwin says is so true. We've got to be there. We've got to be ahead of the business, like ready to give them options for when they realize, oh, do you know what I need to do? Yeah, we know what you need to do. Here you go. Here's how to do it.
And like kind of so really it's kind of about having those programs kind of formed and ready kind of so they can just grab something off the shelf and deploy it versus kind of building something, fresh every time. It's like kind of having this package thing. We know what it is. We know how to execute and operationalize this. We know what the pitfalls are, and like we already sussed all that out. Is that kind of what
Mhm.
you're talking about?
Yeah, I think it's like flexibility and agility, right, as well, because things that we all know that is front and foremost of the business is time and money, right? Like how long is it going to take and how much is it going to cost me? Is pretty much always what I get from the business. But I think that what the last few years has taught everyone in mobility, and we've known this for a while, but being able to be agile and adaptable with the programs that we have, I think is really key. Like we don't have time to develop a program over the course of 6 months, right? Kerwin and team, when I was out, I was out on paternity, parental leave. They developed like this new program that helped to when the pandemic was there, about working abroad for a period of time because of personal situations and everything that was going on, and that didn't take a year, 6 months to put together. Like they had to do it quickly because there wasn't time. And I think that that's going to be one thing that we see go on now, is that we don't have the luxury of time to create these programs. We got to be quick because the talent market is moving really, really quick. And so if we want to have something, we can't wait until next year, right? Then we've
Right.
missed a whole pipeline of people. So
Yeah.
I think it's being agile is, with the resources that we already have with the programs, it's how do we utilize what we know and what we have to create solutions for the business quickly.
Yeah, and I love it, and I like what you said about the pipeline, and it's about creating that talent pipeline. I mean, I'm going through this in my own organization on a very small level, where we've created this program where we bring an intern in, we have them for a semester, and then we basically teach them how to do the job, and then we hire them full time, and we have our first one successfully going to come about June 1st, which we're like
Awesome.
thrilled beyond. And so now we have this program, kind of to your point, right, where we know, okay, we can replicate this and we can use this right going forward. And then we've started working with UTD, University of Texas Dallas, Go Comets, and working with them as well to kind of forge those relationships and kind of help that pipeline of talent come in, not only into our organization but into all the other organizations in global mobility through the Joint Academe Mobility project that Kerwin helped actually pilot with Professor Zadori. I say all that to say, with what you know about talent, what you know about the needs of the business, and what you know about global mobility, if you were to kind of design the perfect approach or perfect program in your mind, your dream program, I won't say perfect, nothing's perfect, but your dream program, you know, what would that look like to
Um,
attract that early talent?
Yeah, yeah. I think so it's kind of interesting to me because I started off my career in oil and gas. Um and oil and gas is really, well, or used to be, I should say, used to be really big on rotation programs for new grads. So it was like this whole big program, and you did like four stints of, you went here for 3 months and you went there, and international and everything like that. That's how I actually came to Houston. I did a rotation here as part of my graduate program for an oil and gas company. And I
Where are you
just
from?
thought,
Where are you from originally, Lynn?
I'm from the UK, I'm from Scotland.
Okay, all
Yeah.
right.
Um, and I just kind of thought that that was par and par of like, I thought kind of every industry did that. And come to find out, it's not as common in other industries as it is in oil and gas. Excuse me, I'm
Yeah, I thought I
passing
detected
allergies.
a little brogue there underneath the that Houston. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I think if I could design my perfect program, it really would be attracting that new grad talent, and being that competitive edge from a mobility perspective of looking at potentially international rotations, and looking at bringing people in from all over the globe as well. I think, excuse me.
No, I love what you're saying too, because I just think about like I've been to like career fairs, right? And you're standing there, and it's like a trade show, and the customers are the students, and the product is the job, and you're selling your company, and you're looking down the aisle at everybody else there, and they're all selling their company too, and you all want the best and brightest students in the room, and you're looking at your sell sheet, your flyer, right, about what you got to offer, and you're looking down the row, and you're like, man, who's the company out here to beat? Who's got the best value proposition or USP going to market out here? And I gotta believe, going back to your Germany, right? Keep going to Germany.
Right.
Like it's the best place to start your career in the world.
Exactly.
But no, but what do you got on your sales slick there? And is it really going to entice the best and brightest, people in the room? Because they got options. The top
Right.
10% coming out of these schools have a lot of options, right? The bottom 20%, they're still pretty much stuck where they've always been stuck, to be honest with you. But the top students really have a lot of options right now, and I think we've got to come to the market with something super compelling in order to win that talent and to really get their eye and say, wow, that's a company I want to work for. And I'm a big fan of doing that through mission, vision, values, and purpose driven companies, and companies that have a purpose, have a conscience. But I think also mobility and the ability to go on an assignment or work, at least work in a really interesting city or in a really interesting environment. But let me ask you this now, and this is really the biggest question that faces our industry, I think, today, as we sit here on the tail end, I'll say, of this global pandemic, where we found a bit of a new normal here, but it's still not normal. And people are still working from home. Here, I'm sitting at home, and you probably are too, right? And we're working in our homes right now. How does that impact the ability to leverage mobility as a attraction tool for talent? How does that impact the value proposition of assignments when we're working from our homes?
Yeah, no, I think it's a really great point, and I think that I think it depends on the company's future strategy on their working flexibility, their working programs, and how they would need to do that. I mean, I don't think that anyone will ever doubt the benefits of in-person collaboration. Just for us at HPE, we do have a framework, a working framework where we're in the office sometimes, we're at home sometimes, and it's kind of hybrid, and not anything mandatory or anything like that. It's very flexible, but at the same time, we just opened a new headquarters in Houston, actually. Whoop, whoop.
Oh,
And
really?
yeah, we moved our
Nice.
headquarters from San Jose to Houston. So, and this last week we've been in the office. It's been our annual team meeting, and just the buzz, man. Like I have to
So
say, like
exhausting.
everyone's buzzing, everyone's talking to each other, everyone's collaborating, everyone's like, "Oh, hey, can I talk to you for a second about this?" And I think that as you mentioned, hopefully we are at the tail end of what we've been going through, and I do feel that we will start getting a little bit more back into the office, and a little bit more back into collaboration. And I think that that's going to be important for mobility as well, to kind of reignite those different programs that we want to say, because people are like, well, what's the point of relocating? I work from home anyway, right?
Yeah.
So, but immersing yourself in that type of culture in a different office location, even if you're going in a couple of times a week, I think the benefits of that are still going to be really, really important to someone that's developing in their career, and someone that's learning, and someone that's going to the office to learn from others and to absorb culture and to absorb the company's beliefs and values. I think is still going to be huge, for a lot of companies, however they decide to come back to the office.
Yeah, you're right. The collaborative aspect of being together, it really is undeniable. I'd love to hear your thoughts out there, audience members. If you're watching this right now, hit that like button for us. Let everybody know we're here. That's really the only price of admission you got to pay. And B, I want to know your thoughts on everything that Lynn's talking about as far as how mobility supports talent and does the value and the value proposition of global mobility change in a remote work or hybrid or unknown future scenario. Really curious about that. Lynn, I also want to ask you, we talked about the positives of global mobility, but I'm going to take this question from Sarah, this comment from Sarah, Sandra, and then I'm going to ask you, maybe, are there any negatives about mobility? Sandra here checking in. What's up, Sandra? Good to see you. Not Sarah, Sandra. Even with work from home, full time or hybrid, giving professionals an opportunity to work from another locale and sample life and people in other locales. This is still attractive to talent, beneficial to growing our leadership pool. I'm watching my nieces and nephews, and they're loving what this offers and what it gives. Sandra, what types of opportunities are your nieces and nephews taking advantage of? I'm really curious because I always want to know what the next generation is. I want to know what they're saying, and I want to know what they're asking for, but I also want to know what they're doing because sometimes those are different things. So I'm really curious. What are you hearing, younger people and people entering the workforce? Lynn, what are you hearing them asking for?
Purpose.
Purpose. Yeah.
And it's interesting, Ben, as well, because I think that a lot of what we've learned over the last couple of years as well with I hate the word the great resignation. I don't think that's necessarily true, but the great movement of people all over the place is what I prefer to call it. But I think purpose is so important to people early career, but also I think that if the last couple of years has taught us anything, it's that what we do in life and having a passion for that and having a purpose is really important. And I think that that's also kind of fueled a lot of the talent challenges that we've had as well. Is that people have, not just that, but people have decided to make a change in their lives of whether it be, a personal decision or professional decision, whatever it may be, to do something different. And we have seen um, a lot of commentary around people who want to go somewhere that they feel more connected to the purpose. And I think that it's such a interesting concept, and such a important concept for businesses to understand as well, is that um, how do we portray and how do we communicate our purpose? How do we get people to feel like what it feels like working here and how great it is? Like, how do we bottle that and give it to someone and say that's what it's like working here? So I think that when you're talking about employee value proposition and employer branding and getting our message out to everyone about this is what it feels like and you will have a purpose here, a really big one, and this is what we care about, and this is what we
Right.
these are our values, I think
Yeah.
is so important for early career, but also just our current
Anybody.
employees, everyone, right?
Everybody. Yeah, totally. And I've heard a lot of people, say productivity is basically, equals, engagement equals productivity. And if you can drive engagement, you can drive productivity. And the way you drive engagement is through purpose. And that's where that inspiration comes from. That's where that discretionary effort comes from. And I couldn't agree with you more. When you said purpose, like when that was your word, I lit up inside because we literally just had our strategy meeting 2 weeks ago, and our team was here, and I was like, okay, we're going to get our values down, right? We're going to get our vision statement, and we're going to get our mission statement. And like there was right when we started our mission, working and ideating on that, I was like, forget mission statement, we're going to call it a purpose statement, right? Because for us, it's about finding purpose in our job, and that's what it's about for me personally as a leader, and that's what it's about for and our people connected with the word purpose so much more than they connected with the word mission. Plus
Yeah,
mission sounds so, it sounds temporary. It sounds transactional, right? It sounds like, okay, here's your objective today. Here's your mission this
right.
year. But purpose is like really like deeper. It's like who we are as people and how that relates to the world. So I love the fact that you talk about purpose. And I agree. I think there is a massive opportunity. How Kerwin said the race will be won by mobility programs that are able to pivot and attract, retain, and develop. I think the future talent, the war for talent will be won by companies that can engage people with their purpose, and whether it be their customers or it be their team members. And you're so right, it's about that storytelling and bottling that and marketing that, and that employment brand.
Mhm.
Do you do some of that work in your role, Lynn?
Yeah, yeah. So we actually work quite closely with so my role is at the group that I support is kind of a highly technical group. So there's a lot of extremely smart and innovative people. And so a lot of what our group does as well from HR perspective is tries to build the community of that technical talent that we have in our organization. Because we talk about purpose. Another big thing that I see a lot of early grads or commentary around is community as well. So not just like, hey, you're my colleague, you're my team member, but like this broader community. And so a lot of what we've been trying to do from our technical talent perspective is build this community so they can help and coach and mentor each other. Those that have been maybe in the roles are fellows, and those with PhDs and the very highly innovative and technical talent, and bringing on these early grads from the technical perspective, because that's what they want as well. They want to learn, how do they progress, how do they get better, how do they enrich their skill
Spot
set.
on.
And so building that community is one of the things that we're kind of helping with from an HR perspective, across our technical community. um, but with that, Ben, to your point, then what we want to do is we want to be the company of choice for technologists, right? And how do
Yes.
you do that, right? So how do you become that? Well, you have to have it internally. We can tell kids coming out of college all day long, come work for us, you'll have a great purpose, you'll have this. But if it's not coming from within either, what's the point? So we're trying to build our technical community internally, as well, to make sure that we're meeting all of their needs and developing that talent internally so that we can show that outwardly.
Right, and it
Um,
can't just be the business saying, "Hey, we're a great place to work." It has to be the people, right? And
right.
I'm like, what you're saying, I'm just like eating this up, because what you're saying, you first said purpose, and the next thing you're saying, you're talking about building your community, and I kind of call that my tribe, right? And I'm like, I need my purpose and I need my tribe, right? And then once I have those things together, forget about it, right? I can take over the world, right? So it's like, and for me, like that's when I'm at home, and that's when I'm never gonna leave. When I'm walking in
Exactly.
my purpose, and when I'm around the people that I love and care about, and then I just feel like I'm
Ding,
just
ding, 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 ding,
like-minded.
ding.
You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah,
so I
100%.
love what you're building here, because I think that's just tremendous.
Yeah. And then from there, that's where we work with our talent teams on the employee value proposition and how they're outwardly going to source and to connect with this talent as well. Because there's a lot of we work on a lot of really cool things, let's be honest, right? And it's like, how do we get that message across as well? So we have to be really lockstep with TA when they're going with our talent teams when they're going through that, because they need to pull out that information, these cool projects. They need to understand them, so when they're going and they're essentially selling our company, like you said, when they're standing at the booth saying, come work for us. um,
Yeah, you can take this opportunity, and then year three, you can do this, and your earning potential, and your on targets, and your yeah,
Right. But
it's
if
gotta
you
be
say,
good.
hey, do you know that we're working on the project to make Formula One cars faster? And hey, did you know that we're working on a project for the biggest supercomputer in the US? Like, that's the things that like our technical talent early career, they get excited about. So that's where, we talked about the liaison, right, between HR and the different talent groups in the business. Like that's where we kind of come in as well, to feed those stories and to feed that narrative into our talent teams as well, so they understand what the business is doing, and they can do all their beautiful creative things and kind of sell it to our talent pipeline as well.
I love it. I love it. This is fantastic. People out there in the comments, that is always a good sign. Get in the comments. I want to know, what do you think about walking in your purpose? What do you think about finding your tribe and building community? What do you think is important to you and to people coming into the workforce now? Or are we crazy? Is that not important? Do you just want a paycheck and 3 weeks off? I mean, what do you want out there? I want to know in the comments. What do you think? People are getting really opinionated in here, and I love it. Let's fire this up a little bit. Let's see what people are saying. Melissa Sedano, walking in my purpose, stealing that. Please steal it. Please, please, please steal it. I love when people steal stuff. This is great. Um, Sandra, yes, they want to be part of something exciting and transformative. I love your examples too, by the way, Lynn, about the supercomputers and building and making Formula One cars go fast. I mean, this is, and it's, you know what's great about what you said there too? It's specific. It's not generic, right? It's like, yeah, we're taking this flowery stuff about purpose and community, but then you drill it into, okay, and this is what it actually means. Boots on, like rubber meets the road. This is what it means, right? And I think that's important too. I think we have to be specific and actionable. Sean says, how will each company offer, communicate, deliver, and measure a unique value proposition for each employee, especially around valuing something as important as purpose to one person versus another who may not value that purpose the same? Oh, this is interesting. Talent is looking for their rewards and careers to be more and more specific to their personal needs and wants. Everything else can be tailored these days. Why not roles and careers? Interesting. I want to pick out one piece of what Sean says here. Oh, this is good. We're getting people who kind of like also like disagree a little bit too. Like Mena here says, I think it differs from culture to culture and from generation to generation. Super interesting, Mena. I want to hear more about that. I want to pick out one thing that Sean says here. He says, especially, and he kind of says what men is saying, especially around valuing something as important as purpose to one person versus another who may not value that purpose the same. Is a purpose driven employment brand and culture exclusive to some people? And how do you reconcile that? Or is it important? Or is it one of those things where, like, hey, these are our values. This is non negotiable. This is the purpose. This is the mission. And if it's not for you, go be successful elsewhere. What do you think about that, Lynn?
I think they're great points, and I think that purpose is such a personal thing. I think from my perspective, like where I see it is our company definitely has a certain culture and certain values and beliefs that is at the core of that. And so when I say purpose, like the things that we work on, like our tagline, right? It's advance the way people live and work, right? And so that's always been like a purpose for our organization, is that we do good things, like we take technology and we use it for the good. And so for me, I think that the point is really well described, because I think an individual's purpose, right, can get lost in this big company, right? So, yeah, that's like the big tagline, or that's the big value proposition. But how does my role impact that? And how does that make me feel a sense of purpose to, like, advancing the way people live and work? And that's why we're looking at, how can we have these specific success stories that resonate with people, or these specific stories that resonate with people on what they want to do? Not everyone's going to want to do that. I totally get that. But what we're seeing is that people want to understand how they have impact on the bigger picture of the company. So they don't want to, they're a software engineer, right? But you're a software engineer working on this part of a product that does this, that does this, that does this, and that's how it's impacting the way people live and work, because that project at the end of the day is helping um, increased connectivity in hospitals, which is helping doctors and nurses get better at their job. There's just so many things, like really articulating some of this stuff that they're going to be working on, and the impact it can have, I think is really critical. But I don't mean like we're saying, hey, your purpose has to be the same purpose as ours. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think everyone's is a little bit different. It's more about, you will have a purpose here, and if this is aligned with the, where you want your career to go, like, come join us.
I dig what you're saying, but I personally would be a little more resolute, and I would have to say that your personal purpose would have to connect with the company's purpose, because just for me now, I have the luxury of that because I'm a small shop, right? You're a part of a shop that has, I don't know, 10,000 people globally or something, right? So you have a lot of parts and a lot of people and a lot of purposes to really to reconcile, right? um
60,000.
and I like what you're saying about, you have to have purpose in your work, and you have to know why you do what you do and how it relates and rolls up to the grand scheme of things. But for me, if the company's purpose for me, if the company's purpose is to advance the way people live and work, if I tell that to somebody on an interview, and they don't sit up a little straighter when they hear that, and their ears don't perk and their eyebrows don't raise when they hear that. I don't know. For me, that's a non-starter, right? I'm like, I want you to connect to that. I want you to care enough about your fellow humans to want to advance the way they live and work, right? And so for me, I would make that's requisite for me, right? But I also, I think that there's something to be said for taking in diverse viewpoints, diverse skill sets, diverse experiences, but I also feel like values are one of those things to me, and values are very much within my baked into my purpose. Values to me are one of those things that I would not compromise on as a business. So it's really interesting how we marry these, how we reconcile these things, right? And
Well,
put them into package them in a way that can be consumable for our talent.
yeah. And I think like like what I got from what Sean was saying though was that you know, purpose like maybe like a very personal thing, like not
Hmm.
connected to work. Like, you know what I mean? So how do you speak to everyone's different purpose? Like my purpose might be to like, you know, I don't know, make a difference in the world for, from animal cruelty, say. That's something that's very important to me. So
Yeah.
that might be my purpose, but just because that's my purpose, how does then HPE speak to me? You know what I
Yes,
mean? Like
yes, I
everyone
hear
has a
you.
different, yeah.
I hear you. But I would say, you know what, then you should go work at Chewy and not here, because we're here helping people live and work, and you should go work if animals are your thing, and that's where you're going to go give 110% discretionary effort and all that kind of stuff. Go work over there, because I mean, we don't have to employ everybody. I mean, that I hear what you're saying, and I'm not trying to be difficult. People know that that's just who I am, and I just like to have these kind of like little, like let's disagree a little bit, because that's where I think the knowledge comes out. HPE has 59,000 employees, so 6 times more than I estimated. Very, very good. Thanks for checking that out for me. Super producers in the house. Kerwin says, Sean, maybe this is a space where there are varying engagement levels, finding personal connections to something bigger, where organizations, countries, or even families are able to clarify purpose, make it resonate, and where individuals engage, then those individuals and companies are able to move forward faster and farther, maybe. Interesting. Meta saying it varies from culture to culture and generation to generation. Super interesting. Sandra is saying that her family, because she's answering that question I had, what are the kids doing? What are the kids doing these days? One nephew, as an example, works for a large financial organization, has been able to travel to various locations doing similar things, but from other locations. It is attractive and has kept him with that org. He's skiing, surfing, and hiking his way through 3 and 6 month assignments and loves it. Yes, you can put that on a flyer and sell it at a college. I'll tell you what. And my observation, the competition for especially younger talent, they're focused on what they can learn and add in seeing 3 moves ahead in their career trajectory. And if you don't have a roadmap for that for them, they quickly begin looking for where they can get that. And titles that reflect their trajectory path are more important than I've seen in my own history. Wow. What do you think about that, Lynn?
So I think the career path and the career trajectory, yeah, I couldn't agree more. People are like, oh, they get in day one, and so what's going to be my next job? You're like, can you just
Yeah.
just
And you're
settle
like,
down?
get your
Give
logins right.
give it
Okay.
30 days, like log in. So yeah, but they're hungry, right? They want to make an impact, they want to make a difference, and they want to see where they're going to go. And so I couldn't agree with that more. Like, I know I'm probably talking very like old school here when I say, but like career pathing, but like more about like, career journeys and how does that look? And it's not always, like I was mentioning, we have different tracks depending on talent and that. But I think it's looking at like, where can different opportunities arise, and something that we're looking at, I know a lot of organizations are looking at, is like gig work, with internal gig work. So giving them that opportunity to work on like really cool projects for 3 months. I think, Sandra said that her nephew is having 3 to 6 month assignments. How awesome is that, right? And having the ability, you said it, Ben, like, hey, can you put that down on a piece of paper and sell it? But that's some of the stuff that we're looking at as well. Is okay, I mentioned some of the cool projects that, we have working on. If they feel like they might have the opportunity to work a gig doing that for 3 months, like, isn't that a cool opportunity? And how's that going to advance your career? So I think I couldn't agree more. I think the having some career journeys. I don't want to call it a career path because I think it can go so many different ways, but
Yeah.
career journeys or example career journeys is important. But I think what's even more important than that is having a manager, people leader that's invested in having those conversations continually, so that they know, hey, we're thinking about this, we're talking about this, where do you want to go, how do we get you there? That sort of engagement at that level, I think, is super important, that we kind of incubate the and grow these individuals that are hungry for more. So 100% agree with what Sandra's saying. I We see that a lot.
Yeah, Sandra, this is such a great, interesting observation. I think that there's more information. My hypothesis here is that a lot of the behavior we're seeing in with talent is due to the fact there is more information available today than ever before. You have Glassdoor, you have all of these stories and talent, talent paths and not paths. I'm sorry, you said you had another word. Um,
Journey.
Journeys, thank you, all these journeys out there, right? And they can tune in and they can hear from the voice of you and so many other people who just kind of give kind of an unscripted, candid kind of take on things, right? And so there's all this access to information, and I think that so then people desire those answers more than they did in the past, and the market is now that those answers are available. It would be hard for me, and I always think about myself. I guess that's my humanness coming out, right? It would be hard for me as a leader to say necessarily, here is your career journey or your career path. I do like the idea of sharing my own journey because it's nonlinear. But I would look for people that are a little more comfortable with ambiguity, than saying I need to know my next three stops, right? And I need to know what those titles are. I also find that people that want job titles and things like that, is a little bit of a red flag for me because it usually tells me they're building a resume to go be successful elsewhere. And I don't like to think like that because it is kind of a scarcity mindset. But I'm like, why is the title so important to you? Of course, as a young person, I remember how important titles were, right? When you get a title, then it's not important anymore, but not having it is, right? So, um, interesting, very interesting take, Sandra. Super interesting. I want to this has been great. I want to have a little fun. I want to play a game, Lynn. You up for that?
I am up for a game, yes.
I love how non-committal people are with this. They're like, I don't know. This sounds like the way horror movies start. Okay, so no, I promise it's going to be very easy, very chill. Hit that like button out there if you want to see Lynn play a game. Whether you hit that like button or not, we are playing the game. Said game shall commence. It is called overrated or underrated. So we are going to talk about a few topics, and you are going to tell me if they are underrated or overrated, and I'm going to tell you if you're correct or incorrect.
Okay.
Just kidding. Maybe. I don't know. We'll see. All right, let's see. First topic. Removing the red tape. Is red tape overrated or underrated, Lynn?
Red tape is overrated. Removing red tape is underrated.
Red tape is overrated. Removing it is underrated. Okay. Unpack that for me, Lynn.
Oh gosh, there's just so much red tape out there, right? I think in mobility specifically, we have so much compliance stuff that we have to adhere to, right? Rightfully so. Don't get me wrong, that is very important. But I think that sometimes we impose some red tape on ourselves through our policies and programs. I say remove that red tape.
Lynn, I want to backtrack just a second to something. How do you thread the needle between being pro compliance and anti red tape, Lynn? What is the line there?
It's very, very thin, and I would never tell anyone in my business. I hope no one's watching because I would never
Everybody
say
tune out so
remove
we can
the
have a
red
real
tape
conversation for a second.
because they're just going to quote me on that. Well, you said to remove the red tape. Um, no, I think just sometimes we make life a little bit harder for ourselves, right? By the policies that we impose on ourselves. And so I know another time, Kerwin, another great thing he did recently is, we used to have like these like requirements that, hey, you have to be with the company for x amount of months or years or whatever before we'll sponsor a green card, or whatever it might be. And that was something we did. Like, why, like, if that's going to attract, engage, develop, retain our top talent, why do we have to wait? And so remove that red tape.
And did you see an impact to your ability to attract, retain, develop talent?
I'll tell you, honestly, I just had a case this week of an individual. He came to me and said, "Hey, I want to start the green card process, but I know I've got to be here for a year." And I had a conversation with his manager. I had a conversation with him, and I was like, "No, we don't have to wait a year. Let's do it. You're a valuable employee, and we want to show this investment in you." And he was just like, "So we can do it now, and you'll do it for my family too." And I was like, "Yeah, we value you. We want to invest in you. Let's do it."
That gives me like I'm like getting emotional over here. That must have meant so much to that person though.
And no,
Like,
and just imagine the difference in the conversation of me saying, "Well, no, sorry, our policy says we have to wait a year," than the conversation I just had. And so, that's what that's why I learned so much from Kerwin because, in my past life, it was very kind of, red tape and this and this. Um, but learning to exercise that ability of that flexibility, and if that's a key person that we need to retain and we need to um engage with, like, let's do those things. It's as long as it's for the right reasons, and we can, let's do it. And we did, and he's very happy.
I love the fact that you kind of point to that as a growth a moment for you as you kind of learn that sometimes red tape and these things are negotiable in my opinion because I remember being a young manager, young supervisor, and I was a very by the book person, and I would quote the attendance policy to people, and I would be very I was managing call center people, right? And I was such a terrible leader, such a terrible boss because I was really just about com- you know are you by the letter of the law, right? And every we have to treat everybody the same. That's what HR is making us do. We treat everybody the same, but we're not treating them as people. We're treating them as a number, and they gave me less and less because I treated them like that, right? And so it wasn't until I really grew and became comfortable as a leader in myself that I was able to say, okay, well, these are guidelines, but the business relies on me to interpret this and make the best decision possible. And the opposite started happening. People became really engaged. So
Yeah.
so that's really cool story. I appreciate you sharing that. All right, next one, Stacy. Simplification, overrated or underrated?
Underrated.
Underrated. But can we get too simple?
Complex. No.
We can't get too simple.
I just think honestly, like, I see my managers at the moment, and we've pushed it, rightfully so. We've pushed a lot of the people processes and people, um, side of things onto our hiring managers, and they've got so much to do, and it's just like, they're in this system doing this for a talent review, and then they're in this system, same system, but they're in this program doing compensation reviews, and I'm just like, whatever we can do to simplify things for them, let's do that.
Yeah.
Let's do that.
Bless you. Okay. Next one, Stacy. Flexibility, overrated or underrated?
Underrated. We got to be
Mm,
flexible.
Got to be flexible. So I'm hearing down with the red tape, up with the flexibility.
This is
Compliance be
going to
damned.
be
Just kidding.
wild,
Just
wild
kidding. You
west
didn't
down here in
say
Houston.
it.
That's what it's going to be like.
The wild, wild west. I love it. I love it. I think I heard a little southern accent creep out there too. I'm big on the flexibility. I think again, once you know what you're doing, you value flexibility. I think when you don't know what you're doing, when you're kind of junior, you're looking for rules. You're looking for things to be very structured because you want to be able to point to it as a aspiring high achiever, and you want to say, "Well, I checked this box. I checked this box. I checked this box. Therefore, I did a good job."
Yep.
And I think that being comfortable with ambiguity is one of the hardest things I had to learn as a young person. And I think that it's also one of the reasons that we don't have as much flexibility as we could and should have sometimes.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's see here. Sean saying more flexibility, but simpler.
Yes.
Mhm.
Here, here, Sean.
Sean, are those things mutually exclusive? Do you find that those are contradictory terms? I'm curious. I'm curious. I want to know because yeah, I mean, think about it, with flexibility and with more options, all of a sudden you can have all these permutations of combinations and word salad going on. Next, policy, overrated or underrated?
Overrated.
Oh,
I feel like I'm like
you're really crafting a narrative here. You're a real rebel here, Lynn.
I feel like I'm just like going against everything that I was taught on the first like half of my career, honestly. I
Well,
was the same. I was a buy the book person, had to follow the policy. No, I think sometimes we just get ourselves caught up in policy and policy to me is just a wrong word. We should have programs and guidelines, like you said, instead of policies. I think policies make, don't get me wrong, for some certain things we need to have policies. I understand, like business conduct, ethics, all that sort of stuff, for sure. But I think when it comes to mobility, I think policy may be a strong word, too strong a word for me.
Well, policy implies things are black and white, and there's do's and there's don'ts. And if
Hmm.
you did a don't, you're wrong,
Right.
right? And you're in timeout, and and you get a piece of paper you got to sign, and things happen, bad things happen, and I think that you said something I feel is really interesting. You said you feel like you're going against the grain of everything you learned in the first half of your career. But I think there's some design in that. And what I'm saying is I kind of believe that the first half of your career, you work on building your intelligence and the facts and the figures and the knowledge base. And the second half of your career, you really flex your wisdom muscle. And I think that there's information you're gaining in the first half, and there's wisdom you're developing in the second half. And so policies are facts, right? And they're like hard, finite things. And then wisdom is the discernment to know when and where to use the facts that you have. And I think this is where Kerwin is amazing because he has so much wisdom, you know. Not always in the weeds, doesn't always have all the facts at his fingertips because he's up here doing all this stuff, but he has the wisdom to see it all, and just help us understand and navigate, right? So
For sure.
um, very super interesting stuff here. Lynn, I've taken you over time, which is outside of compliance, but I've had
It's
so
okay. I
much
don't mind by
fun.
that.
Lynn, I want to give you the opportunity to leave us with a final thought today. Lynn, what do you want to leave the people with out there?
I think that really honestly, my recent transition from mobility from HR, it's even more ingrained in me the opportunity that global mobility has at the moment to really support the business with talent challenges and be that lever that the business needs to attract, develop, retain the talent. Mobility can do it, and it can be a great partner. So I will continue to champion that area of the business because I think it's integral to our talent now and the future strategy.
Love it. Absolutely love it. Give Lynn a virtual round of applause. Hit that green applause button out there. Let her know how much we appreciate her being here today. Tomorrow, same time, I will be coming to you live from Milwaukee, aka Cream City, for the Midwest Relocation Conference. And I will be talking to Sean Luchins, who will be probably in Massachusetts, maybe Vermont, definitely in a camper. And we will be talking about UFlex rewards and all that kind of cool stuff. So this was amazing. Thank you so much, Lynn, for being here. And thanks everybody who tuned in today. We couldn't have a show without you. I appreciate you so much. Lynn, thank you